The American-made Javelin anti-tank systems are considered by many defense experts as Ukraine's best hope to stop Russia. As Russia's invasion of Ukraine continues, Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu announced that Ukraine has more Javelin anti-tank systems than some NATO countries. Speaking at the Security Council meeting, Shoigu stated that the armament of Ukraine is inconceivable and said, "They said these weapons are defense weapons. I find it difficult to see the Javelins as defense weapons. Their number is higher than that of some NATO countries." The American-made Javelin anti-tank systems are considered by many defense experts to be Ukraine's best hope of stopping Russia. Since Russian President Vladimir Putin started his special military operation on February 24, 2022, Ukraine has proven to be a tough nut to crack. The Ukrainians put up a fierce fight, but it would have been over much sooner without the vital weaponry and ammunition provided by foreign supporters. This is a 21st century version of the Lend-Lease program from World War II. One of the most remarkable weapons thought to be impervious to overwhelming waves of Russian tanks is the state-of-the-art infantry-operated guided missile. The Americans who manufacture it call it the FGM-148 Javelin, an advanced guided anti-tank missile, but many of its current users have taken to calling it St. Javelin, the protector of Ukraine. Can the Ukrainian army stop the Russian army with javelins? Several factors stand out for the success of the javelins in Ukraine. Geographical conditions are at the forefront of this. While the eastern part of Ukraine consists mostly of plains, the western part has a mountainous region. It is stated that mountainous regions are more advantageous for javelins to be maximally effective, because it is important for the Javelin missile launcher to hide in rocks, trees, and even pits in order not to become a target. From this point of view, it is believed that the terrain in eastern Ukraine will make it difficult to hide in javelin attacks, and therefore will not be effective enough to stop the advance of Russian mechanized brigades. According to the National Interest, which reports and analyzes U.S. foreign policy, the javelins could provide the Ukrainian army with the means to inflict more casualties on the Russian army and to conduct effective hit-and-run attacks to disrupt its advance and even change direction, if not to stop it completely. Other factors for javelins to be effective include firing range, accuracy, and sharpness of aim. If the Javelin's targeting systems or long-range sensors on nearby vehicles are capable of accurately targeting approaching tanks from a fortified position, it can destroy a number of Russian tanks. Meanwhile, although Russian tanks are also capable of targeting Javelin units, it may be difficult for a tank gun to accurately target small groups of moving troops. On the other hand, it is necessary to consider the possibility that Russian ground forces may have more air superiority and air support. This increases the danger that Ukrainian soldiers who reveal their location by launching Javelin missiles will be killed from the air. As a result, the Javelins may not be effective enough in eastern Ukraine, but as the Russian army advances westward, they could become a very important trump card for the defense of the country. The world's premier shoulder-fired anti-armor system, Javelin takes the fight to the enemy. Javelin automatically guides itself to the target after launch, allowing the gunner to take cover and avoid counterfire. Soldiers or Marines can reposition immediately after firing or reload to engage another threat. Using an arched top attack profile, Javelin climbs above its target for improved visibility and then strikes where the armor is weakest. To fire, the gunner places a cursor over the selected target. The Javelin command launch unit then sends a lock-on before launch signal to the missile. With its soft launch design, Javelin can be safely fired from inside buildings or bunkers. Javelin was developed and produced for the U.S. Army and Marine Corps by the Javelin joint venture between Lockheed Martin in Orlando, Florida, and Raytheon in Tucson, Arizona. The FGM-148 entered service in 1996, replacing the M47 Dragoon. The latest model is the FGM-148F, and work is underway on an upgraded FGM-148G. Weighing 49 pounds, the Javelin features increasingly sophisticated electronics that provide the operator with fire-and-forget capability. The operator aims and fires using the attached command launch unit. The missile is spring-launched before being fired, and guided by an infrared seeker in the nose, travels 300 meters toward the target every 7 seconds. Upon contact, the frontmost of the two tandem high-explosive anti-tank or heat warheads explodes against reactive armor, clearing the way for the second warhead to reach the tank's main armor. Javelin's warheads can penetrate steel up to 23.5 inches to 31.5 inches thick. With an effective range of 2.5 miles, the Javelin's warhead 63 meters before arming, but generates recoil that the user must account for. Although its range falls below the 3.3-mile effective range of the BGM-71 tube-launched, optically guided, wire-guided, or tow missile, the Javelin is much lighter and more practical to be operated by a single trained infantryman. But like the tow, it can be mounted on a vehicle if one is available. Javelins have been sold to militaries around the world, and the U.S. Army, U.S. Navy, and Australian forces have used them to good effect in Iraq and Afghanistan, where their accuracy at longer ranges than other weapons also made them useful against moving enemy vehicles. Although it has seen its share of combat since entering service, it is in Ukraine where the Javelin has achieved legendary status. In March 2018, the country purchased 210 missiles and 37 launchers for $47 million, followed by another order for $150 million in June 2020. These quickly came into play when Putin sent in the tanks, making Russia's advance costly on all fronts. The Ukrainians have claimed that more than 230 tanks and armored vehicles have been destroyed so far. But it is worth noting that they also have other anti-tank weapons in their possession that could add to this statistic. The Javelin is not without its weaknesses, notably in losing the contrast needed for a missile lock at dawn or dusk, or when the target throws up clouds of infrared blocking smoke. But the main Ukrainian complaint about the Javelins is that there are never enough of them. They have already received more than 5,500 missiles, and the U.S. and other allies have promised to send more, but they are expensive and time-consuming to produce. $6,840 a year at $176,000 per system. In helping the Ukrainians, the U.S. has sent 2/3 of its existing arsenal, which cannot be replenished immediately. Fortunately, the Ukrainians have other effective light infantry anti-armor weapons at their disposal, and are experienced in evaluating every shot. For now, however, the Javelin has taken such an iconic literary place in the Ukrainian arsenal that there are reports that a local artist has created a fake piece of traditional religious art depicting Mary Magdalene holding a javelin. Newborn Ukrainian babies are reportedly named Javelin or Javelina. If we briefly look at what Javelin is used by the U.S. military and 20 other countries, this system is described as a third-generation weapon based on the fire and forget principle, with an effective firing range of 4,000 meters and an armor penetration of 750 millimeters. These weapons can be used on the shoulder or in tactical vehicles. Javelin missiles were first used against Iraqi T-72 tanks during the invasion of Iraq, and were successful in destroying the tanks during the war. There is not enough information on whether Ukraine has the latest models. Nevertheless, it is noted that the Army's recent efforts to update this system are an important reference point. The most innovative model of the Javelin, which entered production this year, is said to have doubled the attack range, increased sensor sensitivity, and added a quick lock to improve on-the-move attack capability. Javelin is developed and manufactured by JJV, a subsidiary of Raytheon Technologies and Lockheed Martin. To date, JJV has produced more than 50,000 Javelin missiles and more than 12,000 reusable command launch units. Javelin is expected to remain in service until 2050. Each Javelin missile has a selling price of approximately $200,000. The FGM-148 Javelin missile is one of the most dangerous anti-tank missiles, because this system can send the missile in the launcher to the roof, one of the weakest and most critical areas of tanks and armored vehicles. And since it encounters very thin armor, it can penetrate and destroy its target. The system can penetrate armor up to 800 mm and has a range of 2.5 kilometers. The system is used by many countries. I hope you liked it. Write your thoughts about this issue, which in your opinion is the most important military support given by America to Ukraine, in the comments section. Do not forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. When you activate the bell button, you will be notified of my new videos. See you in the next video.